Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest with us today on the I Drink From Skulls podcast. He puts the wealth in your health. He's the best from the West. He served in the Army. He's a former rugby player turned change maker, Mr. Ceri Cummings.
Let's go.
I drink from skulls. Drink from the skulls of my enemies.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing tremendously okay. How was that intro? Might have taken me a few goes to get it.
Well, hopefully they're only the final edit, but now thank you very much for having me on, mate.
It's an absolute pleasure. We've been going back and forth a little bit. Last time I asked you, you were keen to jump on, but were you in Fiji?
I was in Fiji, mate, yes, on my honeymoon. It was 3.5 years late because I've been so busy. However, you're right, I was over in Fiji with weak signal because I was island hopping and having the time of my life.
I love that. I wouldn't be invited to Christmas if I asked you to jump on the podcast on your honeymoon, sir, so I wouldn't do that to you, buddy.
Nah, we'd all go, mate. Finally got it done, which is good. So thanks for having me.
That's great. Well, mate, for everyone, for the benefit of all our viewers, who the hell is Ceri?
Well, like you mentioned in the intro, mate, originally from Wales. I served in the British Army, did 11 years there, but unlike most soldiers, I was very fortunate to play a lot of rugby. I was successful at rugby, so I was pretty much what we call a tracksuit soldier. So my 11 years, most of that, I was traveling the world playing rugby. Fortunate enough to see pretty much as many countries as I wanted, all whilst representing the Army, but all paid for. That was the best part as well. So yeah, rugby was pretty much most of my adult life. And fortunate enough to get paid to do what I loved, which is what actually brought me to Perth just over 11 years ago.
Yeah, wow. You're practically an Aussie now. What age did you join? You joined the Army?
I joined the Army at 16 years and 9 months. Absolute youngest I could join. So I was really lucky, or unlucky rather, that my birthday being in August, and the way that the Welsh or the UK schools go, I was always the youngest in my year. But it turned out that that the enlistment, the intake, when I joined May 2002, yeah, 16 and 9 months. So I was still a baby.
Yeah, wow. That's what made you want to join the Army? Just out of curiosity.
Stubbornness, to be honest. So Dad said to me, you can go back to school. So do it's called sixth form there. So like year 12, year 13. You can get a job, you can go to college, or you've got to pay your own way. I said, yeah, no worries. And time went on. And one of my dad's friends, he was in the parachute regiment and actually the French Foreign Legion, which is one of the most elite, one of the elite, I suppose, forces to join. Bit of controversy and shrouded in secrecy, but he always thought I was a little shit. And I just said one day, I said, you know what, I'll just join the Army. I'll join the Army. And this guy said, nah, you'd never make it. So it all started with that. And I didn't think I'd make it, to be honest, because I wasn't sure about it. But when I had that little goal of just proving him wrong and then proving my dad wrong, I was like, you know what, fuck, I'm just going to stick with it. And then fortunate to get scouted by a good rugby coach who was also in the Army, been there for a long, long time. And I got really, really, really well looked after.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I have a few buddies who've played in the Australian forces and same sort of experience. They used to talk about it, traveling the world, some very good competition, some great players, very, very strong rivalry against, like if you're in the Army versus the Navy.
Mate, incredible. Yeah, like we every year the Army would play the Navy, and for the last 103 years maybe, it's been a big competition. But we play our game at Twickenham. So last time I played against the Navy at Twickenham, there was 57,500 people there. Absolutely nuts. So yeah, rugby gave me a lot.
Any countries in particular that you loved visiting whilst playing rugby?
Barbados, probably. Yeah, so when I got in the Army, one of the first rugby tours I went on was to Barbados. There's a horse racing track in the middle of the island. It's pretty much dried mud. If dried mud looks like very, very short yellow hay. with a rugby pitch smack bang in the middle of it. The rugby wasn't great, but the island was incredible. So that's probably the standout one for me. But you know what? Like there's so many good places that I've been with rugby.
And somehow you've landed on the west coast shores of Australia over in Perth. Shout out to our fellow Perth friends. How did that come about?
So I originally joined the army as a technician, but because I was fortunate to get picked up with rugby, I was doing rugby full time, but getting paid as a technician. So not many people know this, but I got made redundant from the army because I was on paper, I was a technician, but I didn't have a toolbox for 7 years. So I was shit at my job. So I knew I was going to be leaving the army in June 2013. So I just chucked my rugby CV online. And the first call I got was from an old school guy in Perth, talking mid-70s. He was the director of rugby at a local club. Well, I say local, it's actually the other side of the world, but it's local for me now. And I remember I couldn't understand a word he said because it was the day after Army Navy. My last game represented the Army in front of 57,000 people. It's absolutely awesome. And he calls me up and he says, good day, Cobber. Good day, Cobber. Do you want to come and play rugby for me in Perth? I was like, what? Where? And he said, Wanneroo. Didn't have a clue what he said. I said, look, I'll give you a call back tomorrow. I've got to try and sort out a visa. But rather than checking out the rugby club first, I just went straight on the immigration website, applied for a visa, and then the Saturday, so less than 5 days, I was getting picked up at the airport here in Perth.
Yeah, wow. Couldn't get a more different climate, I would imagine, from where you grew up to where you've landed.
Right, totally different. Like at the moment, it's a little bit of winter time in Perth, but it still reminds me of summer back home. Like the shit weather here is like the good weather back there. Yeah. So yeah, man, I just got a phone call, and to be honest, if I had a call from anywhere, I was probably expecting or hoping for Europe, maybe Japan. But the first guy that called me, Frank, I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I applied for a visa. Immigration were kind enough to grant it instantly, and yeah, on a plane out I come.
That's great, mate. One thing you'll never get is splinters in your ass from sitting on the fence. You've jumped in, grabbed that opportunity, and ran with it. And then, so let's fast forward a little bit. You have a business called Bolt Fitness, which makes sense to me. You've been in the army, you've played rugby your whole adult sort of career. Fitness obviously being very important to you. But talk to us a little bit more about that, mate.
So I, like I said, originally came over for rugby. I had a pretty bad injury, dislocated my elbow after 3 games. So I realized that rugby wouldn't keep me in Australia. It got me here, but it wouldn't keep me. So I figured that I needed to pursue a career in something that I enjoyed. And I started working in a couple of gyms, doing memberships, assistant managing, all that stuff. And it just wasn't for me. Like so many people would be just hustled and signed up to a gym that they're never, ever going to use. So fast forward a couple of years, I did a bit of research on the industry. And what I'd done was I took the best of, I don't like these terms, but F45, CrossFit. And then I do like personal training, but I took the best of F45, the best of CrossFit, personal training, and then I created my own thing. So a bit of industry leader in what we done. And then, yeah, launched Bolt Fitness to change the way that the industry delivered training, but also was perceived as well. Yeah. And that was 8 years ago next month.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. Most businesses, the percentages of failures is very high in that 0 to 5 year mark, and you're pushing hard through the 8th. So that's great. That's like you mentioned a couple of big brands there, but essentially what you've done is you've found some things that you liked, you've gotten rid of the shit that you don't, and you put your own spin on it and made it into something that you can be proud of. So that's, you know, that's business to its core. So I love that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's funny that you just mentioned then about the statistics of new businesses and all that stuff. And in the last 8 years, I'm actually on my 8th business. So I've got eight in total. So the main one was Bolt Fitness, and then Skill Athletic, which was another type of gym, but slightly different. Mm-hmm. Then we opened a chiropractic clinic, So I've got Bolt Chiropractic Clinic. Myself and my wife, we've got a Pilates studio called Element Pilates. Then same industry, but different. So we got a female over 45 only studio. So it's a really, really cool niche over here. Part owner in a recovery lounge as well, a clothing and apparel brand. And then most recently, because all of that comes together and I have so many people wanting to work with me in some way because they've seen the incredible results we got, I've last 6 months released or launched Bolt Fitness online. So we've got clients now all over the world that we can help get on track, but ultimately stay on track as well with their health and wellness goals so they can be whatever they want to be.
That's amazing, mate. 8 businesses there. Bolt is a great word because you've kind of like name of your business, but you've bolted different arms on, very similar vertical. So it's not like you're reinventing the wheel or doing things that you don't have the skill set in. So a lot of logic behind those moves. And then, but being really smart about the getting niche down, you know, the over 45s. That's if you were trying to run the over 45s in with a couple of, you know, the meathead footy players that love lifting heavy, there's a bit of a clash there.
Absolutely. Like we've got one member in the, or actually it's a husband and wife, like late 60s. He's early 70s. They love training with the youngsters. Absolutely love it. However, there's 99% of their peer group wouldn't ever been seen dead in the gym. They wouldn't. So I looked at what was around us and what was missing. And yeah, met my business partner, spoke to her. She's a middle-aged lady and it's what she wanted to do. So I took a punt on her, backed her with her sort of drive and vision, but also then my experience from what I'd done previously with my gyms and my businesses. And together, man, we make it work. So I think that's the one that we looking to scale the most.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, mate. And then I guess the other thing, a lot of the fitness industry, the health and fitness industry, rocked by probably the most out of everyone. Maybe hospitality is equal to prize no one wants, of the challenge you guys experienced sort of 2020, 21, 22, of just how crazy things were. So to be able to come through that, have an online business as well, hats off to you, my good man. One thing you mentioned there that really stood out to me was the recovery side of things, because dealing with so many different business owners, high performance people, is that an area that you see people lacking or they don't take care of themselves? Or I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we come across obviously many different people in our facilities. From we've got kids at school, we've got ex-mayors, member of parliament, elite athletes, stay-at-home housewives, we've got CEOs, we've got upper management, we've got just anything and everything. But we find that the majority of people, they don't recover. And I think that comes down to the industry trying to make people work harder. And it's all about, like, I go back to that F45, it's just HIIT training. The harder you work, the more you sweat, the better your results will be. But studies have shown that working smarter, not harder, will get you a lot further and a lot quicker. But you also be able to maintain that trajectory as well, so you don't burn out and have those massive peaks and troughs. Yeah,
that's great. The burnout, is that something you've dealt with or you've seen people go through?
I've not experienced burnout myself, but I've seen people experience it, and I'm not sure I'm a massive fan of the term burnout, because if you love something enough, you're going to keep doing it anyway, and obviously your priorities will change, and you'll do whatever it takes to make sure that you don't burn out. So if I've got my vision of making Bolt Fitness the best gym in Australia, and I'm on the verge of burning out, but that is my ultimate goal, then I know that for me to hit that ultimate goal, I have to look after myself. So I need to then put steps in place prior to that so I don't burn out as such. So people that burn out, I feel that they either didn't value the goal enough or they didn't put the right steps in place prior to that. Yeah.
What are some of those steps?
So we actually look at a 5-step approach in the gym. And it's called the MENT method, MEANT. So M is for mindset, E is for education, A is for accountability, N is for nutrition, and T is for training. And that's what we base all of our stuff on. So when you're looking at any of that stuff, you've got to be in the right mindset. You've got to be educated on the right stuff and make sure it's in line with your goals. A for accountability, you've got to get yourself a good coach. And that coach buys into your goal, buys into your bigger picture. And if you have a coach that celebrates your wins more than they celebrate themselves, that's perfect. N is for nutrition. So fueling the body with the right stuff and not giving it the shit that it doesn't need. So that's obviously too much alcohol, any drugs, plenty of sleep, plenty of hydration. And when it comes to training, so that the T part of it, you can then obviously have many different types of training, but whatever's best for your goals, flip that then to whatever's going to be best for your recovery so that you can actually train at your optimal. And having a coach that holds you accountable to that and measures, reviews, like it all comes in. And as part of recovery, I actually spent today building a built-in ice bath at home. So that's one thing I absolutely love. So I love ice baths, also cold water immersions. I love ice baths. I love hot saunas. Massage is a good one as well. Love the old massage. And just taking time for yourself and just grounding and just appreciating what you've got. So a bit of gratitude.
Yeah, right. The MENT model, I love that. It's simple, concise. It doesn't seem like any one of those you could do, like if you had to pick one. It doesn't seem like there's one that's any better or worse than the other. It all needs to be an equal sort of input for each of those fields for it to work right.
Absolutely. And there'll be times where one of those 5 pillars takes priority and one of them is least priority, and you kind of almost forget about it. I wouldn't say neglect it, but you forget about it. And you might forget about it because it's just second, like mindset. As an example, like if you're doing all the right things, habits, your coach is on point, you've got a good training program, you're hitting your numbers, then you don't need to worry about mindset because that's just taking care of itself. But once you reach a certain peak or you do something and you get distracted, you might need a mindset check or a bit more education, get back on track and go, yeah.
Yeah. How important is the accountability side of things?
Huge. Like it's the number one thing, man. We have a policy at the gym that if you haven't been in by Wednesday, you'll get a message and a phone call. Like you need accountability. So the reason I set up the gyms like I did is because we want to coach, educate, and empower our members, but we treat them like names, not numbers. So I want my members to turn up. Yes, we charge a premium, a hell of a lot more than other gyms around us, but we get results. Like we offer guaranteed results for your money back because we know if you get those 5 things right, then it works. If you was training with me, and let's just say you're with me for 6 or 12 months, you tell all your friends, you start promoting a couple of you Instagram pictures, reels now and again, or Bolt Fitness this, Bolt Fitness that, and in 12 months' time, you look exactly the same, like you're tarnishing my reputation.
Yeah.
So like that's not what I want. And every single one of my members are walking adverts for what we do. So the accountability is huge, but that goes not just in the gym, in life as well.
That's right.
So I've got a business coach that holds me accountable. I've got an incredible wife. She holds me accountable to what we've sort of set out in our life goals as well. And I've got a really good group of friends and an incredible group of staff that all hold me accountable to, 1, what I've said I'll do, but 2, also what I need to do. Yeah. And I think that comes back to the army and the rugby. Like every single person has a role, whether it's in the army or in a rugby team. And if you do your role well and everyone does the same thing, life is easy. Life is good.
That makes sense. I love that. 2 things you mentioned there that I want to dig a little bit further on. Firstly, your model, you said you're more expensive than the competition. That makes sense because you're investing so much into your members. For clarity, most of your quote-unquote competitors, they have a model where they don't want people to turn up to the gym because they know that they can sell, stack numbers in there of people that will never turn up, and they make their money from people not turning up. Whereas you're the complete opposite. You want to go, you're going all in. There would be limited numbers, whatever they are, I'm sure, and you've got full accountability. So number one, I absolutely love that. The second thing about accountability, and I'm sure you would hear this more than most people will say, I know how to do that. Oh, I know what to do with my nutrition. I know what to do, but they're not doing it. And that's where that accountability really steps in, hey?
Mate, absolutely. And I did this myself for a while early on in my sort of adult life. I'd constantly do courses, whether it's fitness or something different. I do courses, finish the course, boom, stick the workbook straight on my shelf. And it'd be like shelf help. Like literally finish the course, boom, up on a shelf and then do nothing with it. So it's, people, there's so much information out there. You could literally find a program online right now, or hundreds of programs that would work for you. But why are Australians, or why are people around the world the fattest that they've ever been? It's not through lack of knowledge. It's not through lack of resources, because everything's available. You can go on ChatGPT and AI that shit. You can jump on ChatGPT, AI that shit. You can get a perfect program. You can get a perfect meal plan designed especially for you by some robot somewhere. And it'll be a pretty good program. But it's not going to hold you accountable. And it's just going to be someone else that sits on the side and just gets wasted.
Yeah. A good friend and mentor of both of ours always says knowledge isn't power. It's the implementation of the knowledge that's power, Mr. Ryan Tuckwood. And it's never been truer. Like, there's never been more easy access to information. A lot of people know what to do. Most people understand that if we eat more than if more goes in than what goes out, we're going to put on weight, but we do it anyway. So,
yeah, like I often get asked about meal plans. People say, "Oh, can I get a meal plan?" First time I'm like, no. Tell them no straight out. Unless you can send me 7 days worth of pictures or a 7-day food diary of every single thing you consume, I'm not going to do it. And the reason is I've done it so many times. I've create these meal plans for people and they never stick to it. So they got to have a bit of buy-in first. If they can't be accountable to themselves and just take a picture or log the food, I'm like, no way. So yeah, it's putting a bit of love into the game, but they've got to do their own part as well. And that's how I do stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to get your insights on what your top performers do, because it's not easy to find time to be at the gym, to eat well, to perform well in business, in life, to put it all together, so to speak. But there are those of us that do it, and there are a lot of, a small percentage of people performing at a very high level. What are the things that you're seeing they do to make it all happen?
Well, you mentioned there what are people doing to make time. I don't think you make time. You just prioritize it. Like it's that simple, man. And whatever is the most important thing to you right now, or in the very short term, you'll prioritize that. And then that would be you making time for it. And if you want to perform in your relationship, if you want to perform in your business, you have to do whatever it takes for that. And that might be training, because we all know that when you train, it releases all the feel good hormones. You feel younger, you feel better, you have more energy, then you eat better, then you hydrate more, and then you sleep properly. So it's just about priorities. And there'll be times where you do 16, 17, probably 18-hour days, and you don't feel like training. But on those days, it could be meditation, it could be a bit of breath work. It might be that you just jump on a call, or you take your phone with you on the road, and you do a lot of your stuff just in the car. It might be going for a walk. It's priorities. I think that's it. Prioritize what is the most important thing and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. How do you find, like, it's kind of a weird and wonderful world these days of most people, it's hard. Most people they say they want to do the thing, whether it's to get fit, get healthy, perform well. But then when it comes time to doing it, there's excuses that get made. How do you find having the direct conversation? Is it tougher now? Is it something that you just cut through the noise with?
There's a difference between needs and wants, and Most people, I'll use fat loss as an example, right? Most people need to lose fat. Most people need to get healthier, but they don't want it enough. And I'm a big believer of asking my members, and because I'm so close to them, we've got limited numbers. I'll ask them, like, so Matt, you said to me that you want to get fit for this occasion, or you told me you want to lose 5 kilos by Christmas. Firstly, I understand why, or I try and dig deep, but why 5 kilos, why this, and just go why, peeling back that, like the layers. Then when I think we've hit the right place, I'll then ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that to you? Whatever number they give me, I then just directly ask them a question like, cool, Matt, so if that's an 8 out of 10, how do we make it a 10? So firstly, understand where the gap is. But once we've established all of that, it's then a case of, okay, so you're an 8 out of 10, you want this as your goal, it means this to you. With your permission, Matt, can I call bullshit anytime that you are not doing what you've said you will do or what we've agreed that you need to do? And that's literally it. And because I'm buying into their goals and I've asked their permission to call them out, it's easy. Like, Matt, you told me that you wouldn't skip training. You told me you train 3 times this week. You told me you'd be having no more than 2 beers on a weekend. Why did you have a massive bender on a Saturday and then miss Monday, Tuesday training?
Why did we see you running the street?
Accountability. That's it. So I'm holding them accountable to what they said. And as harsh as I come across, as harsh as I sound, firstly, I don't want to waste my time because there's more people out there that want my help. But secondly, I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't do that. So for me in my industry, mate, it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here today, whenever anyone is listening, is that the lessons from fitness, the parallels to business, to anything in life, to achieving a goal, it's so simple to see when you look at it when it's broken down as to fitness. Are we doing the MENT model? Like, do we have each individual? Are we actually doing it, or are we just talking about it? And that translates to every area of life. So I just wanted to. That's why part of why I wanted to get you on anyway, mate.
Mate, for sure. Like the army, the rugby, fitness and health, or business, it's all the same, man. And to me, it's project management. That's it. Like, you get every single thing you need and you put it all together, mix it up to be the right ratios. And mate, you'll, whether it's business, whether it's fitness, whether it's sport or in the military, that project or that mission. And a lot of people have business missions. If you liken that business mission to a military mission, like, it's do or die. Like, I know business isn't do or die, but if people looked at it the same way, if they looked at fitness and health the same way as a military mission, they'd probably perform a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we have in common, we both we have our own businesses, we work with our wives. How have you found that experience?
Working with my wife?
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Like, genuinely, it's incredible. And if we didn't work together, I don't know how it would work. I'm not saying that it wouldn't, but I couldn't imagine it any other way. Like, we some days spend 14, 15, 16 hours a day together, or no more than 50 meters apart because we're in a different part of the gym or something. But it's just epic, man. Like, I wouldn't want to fight this business battle with anyone else or without her by my side. It just, like, when you go home then after a 9 to 5 and you go home, oh, hey babe, how's your day? And then you spend that 10, 20, 30 minutes complaining about insignificant shit. We don't have that now because we have all day, every day together. So when we do get home, it's quality time.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've found the same thing. I think if your partner wasn't all in with you, it would be a completely different dynamic, and I'm sure that works too. But yeah, we definitely have that in common, my friend.
It certainly works for some people, but where we are in life right now and the direction and trajectory that we're on, it's perfect. Like, yeah, so of course we have our arguments, but it's never ever serious, and it's resolved pretty quickly. Same as if one of your employees were to piss you off in business, you know, as long as I know she's the boss, that's all that matters.
Yeah, good advice there.
Yeah.
What's next for you, Ceri?
I'm pretty sure that obviously how well you know me now, plus the fact that I've got 8 businesses in 8 years, is a little bit of challenge. I love a good challenge. Really like good challenge. That coupled with maybe a little bit of ADHD. I'm constantly looking at something else. So I mentioned at the start of this that a guy called Frank called me to come over and play some rugby. Well, he's also the director of a real estate company. And for some reason, over the last 18 months, real estate has just been calling my name. So in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to start my real estate course. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. My mentor has told me that I probably shouldn't. He's backed me in anyway, but he said, look, you probably shouldn't because it's going to distract you from the other 8 things, and it's totally not your passion. But I just want the I think the challenge of doing something else. So rugby's just finished, rugby season now, so there's nothing on, there's no games to go and watch, all that kind of stuff, although the World Cup just started this week, so I'll be busy watching that. I've signed up for a half Ironman, so I've got myself the next 3 months laid out of all of my training. Every single thing over the next 3 months up until the 3rd of December is all planned out, scheduled in my calendar, so I've got that. But because my business is pretty much run themselves with the team that we've got, I just, figured that I'm going to go and learn about some real estate. So I've signed up for a big event, obviously health-wise, because I need something health-focusy, and just a bit of extra education. Whether or not I do anything with it, not sure, but maybe some of the money from my businesses, I can invest in some real estate and grow my portfolio from there.
Absolutely. Ceri, we'll add a 9th one there, property mogul. Love that.
Well, that's it. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's been about 18 months. It's just been nagging me. And I think it completes that full circle. It goes back to like the guy that got me over to Australia. He's still in real estate now. And yeah, who knows? I might do some part-time work for him and broaden my experiences. Because one thing's for sure, like I love the gyms. I don't love doing what I'm doing, but I'm not sure that's my forever game. So diversification, mate. And I like a challenge, like learning new things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So no excuses to anyone who's watching along, who's thinking about doing a thing. They haven't done it. There's an itch they need to scratch. Just do the thing.
Mate, just do it. Like, don't regret it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to invest a little bit of money in a course. I'm sure I'll learn something anyway, but it's going to help train my brain a little bit different. It's going to put me out to my comfort zone. And it's just a little bit of experience as well. And you know what? I jump on the course. I'll be on the course in person. I'll take that as a networking opportunity anyway.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's a win from me, mate. Any final words before we wrap things up tonight?
Probably what we just finished on there, mate. Don't regret anything. Take action. Get shit done. And just always try your best. That's it. Just do it.
Love that. Have the Nike approach. Where can people connect with you? How can people find you?
Probably the best one I would say is probably Ceri_Cummings on Instagram. I've obviously, with all the businesses, I've been building and growing each of them. So I've always been here, then everywhere. But over the last sort of couple of months, I have started and I'm going to focus more on that one. So that's probably the best place to catch me, whether it's for a chat, bit of inspiration, or a bit of guidance in some health, wealth, and business.
Fantastic, mate. You've been motivating, inspiring, and everything in between. Thanks for sharing some time with the I Drink from Scullions. And that's it from us tonight. Cheers. We're off.
All the best for you and the family.
And the new edition. Alrighty.
That's it, mate. That's it. Incredible. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, my man.
Cheers, buddy.